Love in COVID Time by Moisés Bismarck Medina de León. Dedication. To you, who gave me a beautiful welcome to your life and in your places. You made me feel at home from the first day. A and F. First, quote, every revolution seems impossible at the beginning, until this happens because it was inevitable. Phoenix, Renaissance quote. Unknown. Preface. This book was born, breaking some pre-existing schemes of relationships and their behaviors. Because it is not just an entertainment romance, rather, it is a good way to recreate and delight the present person, and take out that emotional discomfort, pain, the trauma suffered by so many human beings, women and men from different generations and times, who seek themselves, the love in a couple, and the charisma of agape in sharing with their loved ones and/or lovers. At the same time, it is not pleasant to know that so many people continue to fall into so many traps, childish deceptions, and end up dying unhappy. Because we are in this world to pursue our happiness and at the same time achieve the purposes of our lives, like a blank canvas that an artist has, and in turn has all the tools to create their best work of art. And not doing so would be another wasted life. This social fiction is a book that tells a charming story, set with fictional characters and names out of respect for the privacy of the protagonists and to avoid offending any type of person or entity. Love in COVID Time is a profound and multifaceted journey that unfolds in two interwoven dimensions with a subtle but powerful regime of totalitarianism. One extrospective, rooted in passion and human relationships, and the other introspective, delving into spiritual transformation and the metaphysical. It is a manual that was transcribed in just a few days of quarantine and expanded in its successive metamorphosis with the intention of providing some secrets of the universe and/or cosmos that are intertwined with the secrets of living, the secrets of the spirit, and demonstrating a plan of the path of life and death of our humanity, procreation enhanced by a script that guides the integrity of our new era. A romance that offers entertainment and, furthermore, provides subtle indications that awaken the curiosity of the dear reader who wants to know more about the delicate nuances of deception, betrayal, and the self-sabotage of the human being who continues in this pattern. Then, this serves as a counterweight to avoid the same errors repeated infinitely in our human history by understanding that we all have the same sentimental and emotional value. Simultaneously, recognizing the validity of using it in the exploration of self-love and love among others. The desire to enjoy the journey, a process of growing in love, cultivating it every day. Eliminating the anxieties of making mistakes and avoiding settling for what is not meant for oneself. Instead, being happy and dissatisfied, always giving more than initially thought, creating that strong steam that propels the ship when facing powerful storms at sea. Therefore, don't forget why you do it, and be dissatisfied where you've been placed, because you don't belong to that place where they want to see you. This is a story that reflects many people, or couples, that nowadays living in suffering, due to fear of social, political, or religious disapproval, a disagreement that leads to separation and loneliness. The same habit that prevents them from seeing another solution, opting instead to continue dying in existential euthanasia. Slow but damnably certain, because it's easier to learn to hide who they truly are, or at times, it's much easier to change partners than to repair the mistakes made. It is the romance of Enrique Rivera, who enters into a total attraction of hellish madness, passionate, until he loses his head for the beautiful and young Nicole Vigne, who shows him and offers him all her heart and soul, like a magician who convinces you and does his prestige tricks with the cards and in the end rips you off everything you have. Something never seen in Enrique's life, at least in what he knew, exchanged, and chatted in the first weeks of knowledge of this lush relationship, before the arrival of the absurd, indomitable pandemic, the coronavirus, COVID-19, that stopped and shook the systematic engine of this world, of this sick society. In this time when humanity is penalized by this global plague, leading to a heightened insecurity in every project, ambition, or human dream, and furthermore, to an increased fear due to the inevitable change in the status quo, which is already classified as an announcement. It is at that precise moment when the relationship between Nicole Vigne and Enrique Rivera unfolds. They begin to get to know each other better, facing new challenges in a world terrorized by this new virus that offers no peace or tranquility to anyone. This platonic couple promise to love each other amidst the pestilence and to deeply live their love despite everything, even going against destiny if necessary. They believed they had an unprecedented, superior, and celestial compatibility that created a toxic atmosphere and a destructive dependency. However, his naivety and her art of manipulation and seduction tamed the wind, controlling the steps, paths, and decisions of the genius, but naive Enrique Rivera. From there, only a miracle could save this tormented love. At the same time, this book has been influenced by different thinkers and writers, especially by Aristotle, Socrates, Seneca, Epictetus, Eva Wong, Thich Nhat Hanh, Sun Tzu, Geneviève Barrand, Madame de Lambert, Saint-Germain, Madame de Sévigné, Arthur Schopenhauer, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Plato, Balthazar Gracian, Spinoza, Kant, Niccolò Machiavelli, Lao Tse, Confucius, Takuan Soho, Erich Fromm, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Pablo Neruda, Carl Jung, Robert Greene, Jordan Peterson, many men and women from society, politics, and various religions among others. Quote, "Suffering is distributed entirely at random. This has no sense, no ethical force. This is simply absurd, and this is the nicest thing you can say." The Plague by Albert Camus. It is like a spring water that offers and quenches that thirst that the reader has and helps to remove the mud of soil that covers the eyes blinded by false schemes, ways of thinking of this global order. And this, at the same time, brings only illusion of the desires, fears, and its consequence. Disillusionment of this society, of this world. As the thought of Gautama Buddha says, everything is an illusion. Being realistic in life, as in relationships, is substantial, since our time is limited in this world, and investing it in the wrong person can be a waste, with no guarantee of a return. Because time, one of the most precious assets in your life, once it's gone, it doesn't come back. However, if you look at it from another perspective, this is an opportunity to learn every time you lose, every time you fall, in order to grow, break free from mediocrity, mature through each experience, love yourself, and enjoy your own company when you're alone, which is your best companion, your better half. And spend your time only with quality people, those with good vibes, positivity, flexible minds, and nourishing individuals who love you for who you are, not for what you can bring to the table or for what they want to turn you into. They will see the potential you have and help you nurture it to become a better person than you were yesterday, a better servant in this world, and feel fulfilled in the mission you have chosen in this extraordinary and original life. Chapter 1. The New Life. Quote, "The world wants to assign you a role in life, and once you accept that role, you're doomed." Robert Greene. One summer in 2019, Enrique was with his wife, Emma, in Italy, on a beach in Rome more specifically, enjoying the good weather of a Ferragosto day after a fresh watermelon and a melon with prosciutto crudo that is celebrated on the 15th of the month of August throughout the Italian nation. "What a wonderful sky," says Enrique as he observes the blue behind the clouds that brings a sweet fresh wind and the sea that is very clear and warm that day. "What a kiss," he says, looking into Emma's eyes. "Yes, for a kiss." Emma smiles softly and pleasantly as she looks him in the eyes as well to give an affirmative answer to his exclamation, while she laughs and blushes. Because it all began on a Caribbean island in Punta Cana with a kiss and only for a kiss. But it was much more than a simple lip touch, more than carnal, but a kiss. Oh, yes, because it was a kiss never felt by both, something that created an impression in the mind, heart, and soul. There was no need to create a union letter, much less go to celebrate a religious feast, because at that moment, they felt what they had to live and do together. No suit, no ring, no bilateral pact between two people. Because this was something more than magical, feeling ecstatically drawn to each other. How extraordinary. Meeting without knowing each other, just feeling it through an atomic, emotional, attractive, and natural kiss that made their skin tingle all over, from head to toe. This was something beautiful, celestial, and liberating because it was something never experienced for Emma and Enrique, who transmitted a special contact, an imprinting, a fusion of souls that couldn't separate from that day. They needed each other and supported each other in everything. What a marvel. From there, they spent 3 days together, and just the thought of parting ways was an internal mourning. But the relief came from knowing that they would meet again, giving them the energy to finish their goals and celebrate them together. Because they knew they would reunite soon to live together, and this motivated them to forget everything around them at that moment. Zero agenda, zero responsibility. Only love, the best language in the world. The amusing part of this new relationship was that Emma didn't speak a word of Spanish, and Enrique had never considered speaking or being interested in a language like Italian, because Italians generally seemed unpleasant to him and were not at all interesting for his business plans, business or diplomacy or work relationships. What irony! How Cupid plays with love, commented Enrique, and they both reflected. They began to get to know each other, live together, and do everything based on two individuals becoming a single heartbeat, a single breath, and increased mental connection, building a new home from scratch. Without plans, they executed solutions to contend with all the unforeseen aspects of life very successfully, and understood that if you don't win, you learn, so you always win. Because those are the moments that will make you grow, mature, and/or improve as a person. They lived, traveled, and explored the world together, from Prague, Ilot Gabriel, many others beautiful places in the wonderful Italy, Bahias de las Aguilas, Nosy Iranja, to Bali, among others, and loved each other until intolerable things happened due to Enrique's immaturity or lack of experience in managing internal and external relationship problems in a society he didn't know well, and Emma's unjustified attachment and possessiveness. Furthermore, unresolved issues allowed a chain of growth for paternalistic and condescending behavior, lack of respect, difficulty accepting new solutions due to affection or national pride for the place, in this case, the eternal Rome, and the fixed and inflexible way of thinking or mindset, up to lies and false promises that eventually emerged from among other aggravating factors. The childish illusion for both that always wanting to be happy as a couple, avoiding pain or sadness, because they did not understand that they had to live with those hard moments in order to take that chance and grow in the relationship. Believing that loving is always something beautiful, in other words, living in the utopia of La La Land, something extraordinary, without understanding that this verb takes precious time and effort in its complexity to be understood and lived in its deep interiority. As David Data already says, in The Way of the Superior Man, feel your suffering, rest with it, embrace it, make love with it. Feel your suffering so deeply and completely that you penetrate it and realize its fearful foundation. At the same time, and fortunately for destiny, they selfishly chose not to have children. They didn't want to raise a separated family. Neither of them could bear this due to the high level of responsibility they held in every aspect of life. This was a great sorrow for them, because it would have been beautiful to have a family with their children. Just seeing their pets grow in the house, first Minnie and Pistachio later, demonstrated the love and dedication they gave to those around them, especially to these two fantastic cats who were companions and friends of this couple for a long time. Furthermore, Enrique was not yet prepared to create the botanical garden that Emma so desired or wanted to create with him in the beautiful lands of the Mediterranean. Each time she asked him to lend her a hand and take a day off to plant new flowers on the balcony for the changing season, and, at the same time, to nurture the plants daily with fresh water. He did it with love and passion. However, he also was afraid and had hesitation without understanding why. In the end, he refused to continue and avoided any kind of responsibility that was outside his agenda because he did not understand the natural procedure of the divine cycle of agriculture and agronomy, that is, the celestial pantheism of the cosmos. However, his family had been secretly and carefully following these problems for centuries. "Enrique, can you help me with the plants? It's not like we just came back from the florist, bought all these flowers and plants. And now you think you're done," Emma says angrily to Enrique, because after a few hours of gardening, he silently walks away to continue with his own things. "No, Emma, I can't follow you on this all day." Enrique refused to engage in plant and flower matters all day long. "Why, Enrique? Remember that I can't do all this work alone." Emma asks him for a plausible reason not to do it always. "I'm sorry, Emma. I can help you for a few hours, but I don't have time to kill. I have personal things to conclude, and you know it. So, if I don't prepare myself for this and finish it well, there won't be anyone to buy more flowers, and there won't be time to create any Zen garden either." Enrique explains to Emma why he made that decision. Even though he loved spending time alone with plants, flowers, stones, and wild animals. In fact, he often escaped into the nature of the large forest near his home to greet and talk to them. For example, he always named the flowers or plants and praised them because, after the beautiful stones, they were the flora that always listened to him and supported him in his most difficult moments. That's why whenever necessary, he confided in them and confessed to the stones, flowers, plants, or animals because they are alive. Listen attentively, without prejudice, and judge no one, only to show you the right path and guide you forward without the penance of a deadly or original sin. "Enrique, we planted this flower together. I have fertile and new soil here. Bring me the water, please, with your annaffiatoio, your green watering can. The new one you bought at that florist the other time," Emma asked Enrique. "I'll be right back," he responded to her while he took his green watering can and filled it with fresh water from the bathroom basin, adding other mineral substances that nourish the soil well and make the plants grow naturally and healthily. Returning to the afternoon of the Ferragosto, around 15:15 he receives a notification. Nicole Vigne accepted his business din connection request as they were sharing the same work interests. She was an expert in communication and public relations, Nicole in the fashion industry for more than 10 years, and Enrique in diplomacy and politics as well. So, the beautiful girl was very friendly and cordial, with a greeting beyond professional, but without being vulgar or harassing. What a beautiful woman, thought Enrique. He used only business din and Newister at the time for work purposes. He had no other social networking platform because he had already seen the negative results of these on his personality and the lethal effects he suffered in his preceding relationship. Now he felt better without having to use these attention-seeking tools, because the best validation is the one you find internally, and you don't need external approvals. Because the ego is the enemy, already mentioned and studied in detail by Ryan Holiday. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Rivera. What an honor," greets Nicole in a message via Business Din. So much admiration caught the attention of the gentle man that he let his guard down before the kindness and gallantry of this beautiful woman. That's why Enrique responds kindly. "When you pass through Rome, don't forget to write to me," he adds. He was amazed by this girl who was not only beautiful and educated, but also empathic, something that is being lost in this world and a very important value for the young Enrique. "Oh yes, of course, I will do it without a doubt," she answers quickly. "And you are too. You are always welcome in Milan," Nicole replied. And so he begins Homer's journey in the midst of a storm at sea. With a new opportunity to enter this new fashion market, and the great events that this company organized for the most important companies or fashion houses in Italy, France, or other countries in Europe or internationally. Enrique thought it would be great to nurture this relationship with such a kind and beautiful person who could insert his wife as an artistic director to gain new clients and help her grow, as it was fundamental for Enrique to be able to support her consort in her career. And at the same time, he was interested from the beginning because he wanted to change the international business atmosphere or leave the Italian political environment that was not very soluble for his mind, body, and spiritual peace, as well as he no longer saw in good taste to work in public relations, diplomacy, because of the moral decadence that this same one lives. Enrique liked the world of fashion because he is a lover of all that is beautiful, curated, and refined, like most people. Together with his wife, they had created new business opportunities. In the same way, they invested a lot of time in fashion, architecture, and furnishing decoration, things he learned with Emma, a lover of art, the elegance, and with her natural charisma in human anthropology. "It would be interesting to get into this high-fashion business," said Enrique to his wife as they had lunch, pasta alle vongole with white wine, on the beach, and then enjoyed the sun with a good shakerato al café. "You think about your business, and I think about mine," she replied with a bellicose tone. Enrique did not like this answer, causing him to become disinterested, lose or die the initial interest, and continue to enjoy the day without thinking more about the subject. So, Nicole and Enrique were in intermittent contact for a few weeks, because at the beginning, she told him that she could integrate both of them in this new sector. And then, it was something very difficult, almost impossible, because they already had their entire staff of trust. The first yellow flag. But she did it in such a gentle way that Enrique didn't take it badly. In more, he had forgotten the nihilistic tendencies that fashion and advertising entails. It just wasn't the right time, thinks the man. It should be noted that at that time, Enrique and his wife were going through a strong marital crisis that dragged on for the last years of their relationship, without healing properly. Both were together because of a true love that they chose each other, despite the many character differences and the short time to know each other. They were young, beautiful, and ignorant to deal with the everyday problems of a relationship. Even more, to deal with a marriage, bringing emotional dysfunctions, diminishing the couple's love and lack of understanding. In truth, they needed a lot of humility and sincerity from both parties to be able to overcome those hard trials in the midst of a society fragmented between the sacred and profane, that is, Rome. After more than 12 years of a relationship, including courtship and marriage, Enrique experienced many good moments, despite misunderstandings with his wife. They dreamt of fixing their disagreements, filled with intention in theory, but little action in practice. Initially, it was a more personal journey that both of them had to undertake before being a couple. Because if you don't know how to be alone with yourself, You are bad company. You must learn to love yourself first, spend time with your inner self, and get to know better the person you see daily in the mirror, who is your true other half, and everything around you. It is a compliment. That's why the relationship becomes codependent, transforming it into a toxic dependency. Both of them tried every method at their disposal, seeking advice from older friends, couples, psychology for couples, religious temples, and spiritual leaders, who were ultimately more interested in maintaining a profitable mercenary exchange for friendship or gaining a lifelong patient, profit, than in healing. They were more focused on creating more proselytism instead of curing the soul for the love of the Lord and one's neighbor as oneself. Both grieve themselves, mistreat each other, and make mistakes or self-sabotage that unfortunately they cannot recover and go backwards, breaking the delicate twilight season of initial love. Because in every couple it is primordial, one, to accept and leave the other, as he or she is, as you like, as you knew him or her, as he or she is in his or her nature. To then, two, inspire to improve in a new version, the evolution of the couple, without being coercive or invading the original structure of the being, without being ready, and even less without getting their permission, only help him or her to become more independent. And finally, three, to be balanced or moderate. That is not to allow your extreme points of emotions and internal sensations to go to the maximum, extreme happiness, or to the minimum, extreme sadness, depending on what your partner does or offers you. Because your happiness comes from within, and only from there it will be true. This is the true tranquility. Even if this person has a very high value for you, you cannot allow that person to affect you 100%, because he or she will be the center of your universe, and everything that is against the rules of nature is eliminated by nature itself, where you turn aligned in the universe and for the universe. For this reason, long before now, Galileo Galilei confirmed that it is around the sun that our planets rotate and not the other way around. If you achieve these points mentioned above, you will have an excellent balance and you will be happy in your relationship. Because it is likely that you were born penniless, naked, and speechless, but nature gave you the spirit of love that is within you and is to be shared with others. Quote, "Of all animals, man is the only one who is cruel. He is the only one who inflicts pain for the pleasure of doing it." Mark Twain. This was a very essential principle to leave the doors open, and without a sentinel to prevent toxic people from entering Enrique's life. For this, she created a pattern of security, friendship, empathy, happiness, and more good emotions that nurtured both of them in the belief of a new love. Nicole was sweet, present, active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for everything Enrique wanted or needed. Enrique thinks and touches his skin. I don't know if this was real or just a dream, he tells himself ignorantly. There was difficulty in understanding whether he entered another dimension or if what he felt, what he was living, was just an illusion of the toxic system. In a way, yes, because at that time he didn't know how to classify what was healthy from what was harmful. We are soulmates, Enrique, and now that I've found you, I won't let you go, Nicole encouraged him. Beautiful, don't you think? Enrique convinced himself. She is manipulating him with a referential index change, and he no longer saw any hope with his wife Emma. He only saw that his marriage had become the demon in person, that is to say, in a hell. Because at the same time, the intensity and speed of this knowledge or platonic relationship with Nicole had affected his stability. Since she had become the right one, the one who was the supreme woman pro-nature. She was the chosen one by destiny. The Archangel Gabriel himself had prophesied her arrival for his happiness with a prosperous family, full of beautiful, and healthy sons and daughters. She was always there to listen to him, and understanding everything with great attention and empathy. She was a fallen angel on earth, a mixture between Geisha and Minerva, literally speaking, and she not only promised him that she would see him, and they would start a new relationship as soon as he broke up and closed the relationship with his wife. And only now begins the long-awaited love story. It was the greatest pleasure for Enrique. He finally found someone who would understand and listen to him with love, and this is why he never wanted it to end. The most impressive thing is that Enrique fell in love with a woman he had never seen in his life. Yes, that's right, dear reader, never. Unbelievable, isn't it? How could such an intelligent and naive person at the same time live and exist in this world full of vultures, hyenas, pigs, vipers, and piranhas? What a fool. To fall in love with a woman who had never made love to him, never kissed him, never hugged him, and even less ever greeted him in person, or at least shook his hand as a formal greeting. It is that, dear reader, you will understand later who she was. Who was Nicole Vigne, and what were her superpowers to create such an attraction, or better to call it by its name, dark manipulation, developed and organized by brilliantly evil minds, with a single purpose, their interests. The beautiful Nicole always told Enrique while they were writing to each other by NowZap, where they exchanged photos, music, poetry, phrases, and other things of lovers, or called each other by cell phone, where she explained that she was shy and did not like telephones, smartphones, or social networks at all. So she never made a voice message or video call. In other words, something that could be recorded. Another very interesting part to note are the photos of Nicole, all very beautiful, and in luxurious places. They were also high-fashion photo book, made by a professional photographer, like a model, a goddess, a diva, a muse. But at the same time, she shared the cropped photos. Yes, you read that right, cropped. No head, or only part of it, and the only whole pictures were of her back. It was like studying the anatomy of the human body in pieces. Face or profile photos were scarce after more than a year of acquaintance and virtual exchange, and could be counted on the fingers of one hand. Another curiosity that was born to Enrique was the resemblance of the faces, since they did not look much like each other in each frontal photograph. It was like defending her true identity and hiding it behind the camera, or rather to say, the mask of a covert narcissist. So, it begins mas y mas in his Chateau Marmont, and it wasn't Roby Draco Rosa's song, Red Flags Unnoticed by Enrique, the unsuspecting one. Despite him justifying her, but doubts begin to arise in his mind. If she told me she loves me, but can't see me right now because she's always busy, be empathetic, more patient, understand her, analyzed Enrique in confusion, in entropy, as he didn't understand the whole situation. Instead, Nicole tries to justify herself to Enrique. Why she is a ghostly love. You feel me, but you don't see me. She behaved like a goddess in person, making him understand that he cannot or is not allowed according to the plans, and at the same time, one must accept and wait for the mandates of the divine hierarchy. In short, to be narcotized by the aroma of seduction that is stronger than amphetamine mixed with alcohol, because he had to end up in an incurable and lifelong post-traumatic trauma. If it weren't just for my work, I wouldn't use my smartphone, and I'd throw it in the trash, she responds to Enrique with a tired and disheartened air. This was Nicole's response the first time Enrique asked her to make a video call after months of knowing her, but she vehemently opposed it. Calm down, Enrique. We'll see each other in person, which is much better, don't you think? She exclaims. When are you coming to Milan? That's how Nicole ended the conversation. First date created by her. Knowing that Enrique was still bound with Emma and did not want to make a trip to the northern Italy just for a night of passion and unrestrained sex, So he was patient and decided not to insist and wait, because he had already made the decision to leave his wife, his house, and everything he had built for more than 10 years in Rome, Italy, for a new life, a new job offer in Germany, to carry out specialized studies in new high-tech flying vehicles for urban air mobility UAM in aviation, since that it was already in the phase of experimentation and certification of prototypes. In addition to the expansion due to the interconnection of interested parties, industry, user, while it was necessary to simplify the bureaucracy to develop new proposals, innovation, and have effective communication. What a coincidence. New love, new career, and a new life. All very beautiful to be real in this new adventure that continues in the architect's carousel, he says, very surprised and euphoric. That's when Enrique decides to talk to Emma. And he says, it is better to take a sabbatical break and not continue with the relationship for all the reasons experienced in the past. Anyway, I have to leave for Cologne, and you want to stay here. It was better to stop this marriage because it had taken a wrong turn. And first, each one had to do internal work on themselves and see after some time if they still had the necessary budget to continue this relationship. Emma responds, I can't believe what you're telling me, Enrique. Don't leave me, please, I ask you. You're going to destroy my heart, my life, my soul. And she breaks down crying heavily, desperate and in a lot of pain. Enrique feels very bad and sad about all this, and doesn't hide his tears and thinks carefully. She has loved me, but she lacks some values, such as respect, which are non-negotiable for me. He decides, despite the pain this caused him to see Emma suffer, because the two could not continue to be dishonest with themselves and pretend that everything was fine, living in an illusion to cover the social image and feeding only their egos with automatic lies that protect the ideology of the idyllic monument they had created in recent years, La Bella Vida, without real strength to heal the relationship. With a life of deceit and the lack of radical changes that had never come, as this required more action and less intention, provoking the main motivation that pushed Enrique, unable to bear the nightmare situation any longer, and he prefers to lose his wife, his first official love, suffer, be hurt, and live with less, but follow his calling, his life proposals, give his gift to the world, with courage, to acquire more skills that ultimately make him a man with a dangerous preparation, and be responsible for himself, as this would bring him true happiness. And whoever would be by his side would understand and support him, flying on the same frequency, to the point that both enjoy the process of this same path, as he would already do it for her. Quote, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Steve Jobs. Nevertheless, he did not want to continue with the investments in mini hotels that had started with Emma and partners in Rome. This was because he would undergo this one-year experience in October 2019 at the European Atlantic Union Aviation Safety Agency, EUASA, in Cologne, Germany. You've lost your mind, Enrique. Why are you doing this? You're leaving everything for nothing. I mean, leaving a real path for a dirt road. Do you have another woman? Emma responds, very disappointed and suspicious. He objects to her. I'm not leaving you for another woman, Emma. Instead, I'm ending this relationship because it's very important for me to be honest with myself. This separation was painful for both, and they took time to heal and mend the wounds of the separation, but they agreed to do it in the most peaceful way possible. Today, after more than 2 years, Emma and Enrique have a good relationship. They laugh and say, what luck we had not to invest in those mini hotels in Rome. This is because it was one of the market activities most affected by the pandemic, a total collapse for tourism, aviation, gastronomy, among other sectors of the global market. She now has a new relationship, a new man in her life, a new boyfriend. So, they are a new couple that Enrique wishes for him to love and protect her always, because she is a woman of extraordinary beauty, with many values, precious and uncommon. Thus, he was selected without being an aerospace engineer to learn new aviation technology. Furthermore, he took advantage of his background in communication, all of this to offer more efficiency, fast communication from both sides, external and internal, and less bureaucracy. This was to promote a better certification process, simplified and versatile. This includes innovation in all types of aviation and in new versions of helicopters that are safer for smart cities because they have more rotors and propellers. They also have components, materials, and power that are more suitable for different environments and weather conditions. This is to provide more safety in flight and respect for our planet. Essentially, it is the future of transportation worldwide. I had some visions with these new technologies, and I want to see them come to life, thought Enrique at that moment when he witnessed this new initiative and other innovations emerging in the world with the potential to provide new solutions to humanity. Therefore, he had to devise a solid plan to secure a good job efficiently, avoiding letting another well-thought opportunity die due to the surrounding pessimism. He acknowledged that this was just the beginning of a long journey since he lacked engineering studies, and it wouldn't be easy or readily accepted. Moreover, he was entering a highly competitive and Machiavellian world where inventions are stolen and betrayals are commonplace. Here, ladies and gentlemen, anything goes because the majority are hunger for power and vainglory. In addition, from the very beginning he was rejected, separation, and diplomatically removed from all his job applications in the new aerospace market and from aviation in general, perhaps because of the self-sabotage of that time, or because he was not the right candidate for his skills or origins. We're sorry, but you don't fit in the position. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, Enrique recalls. The responses received in the countless applications of work done. And so, their future projects began with almost all doors closed. But God opens new and better doors for the one who believes in him or her. Therefore, Enrique waited patiently for his new training, like a knight sleeping with his sword, waiting for the time to come for this new mission. And one day in the morning, very quiet, silent because of the pandemic, where there are not many people in the streets for fear of the contagion of this virus. He was doing his morning routine, exercising, and practicing basketball outside in the park, when suddenly Osiris, coming from the people of Abraham, Isaiah, and Jacob, his first master of the forces of eternal light, arrives and introduces himself with his basketball. "Hello, do you want to play with me?" Osiris asks. "Okay, let's start," Enrique answers quickly. At that moment, Enrique doesn't ask any personal questions, and neither does Osiris. It was as if they had known each other for a long time, from another life, from another dimension. And so begins his learning, initiation. But as always, he loses against Osiris. Yes, Osiris taught him to lose, his first lesson to be able to win a war. Don't be afraid. Don't hesitate to lose because it's part of the entrepreneurial process, and it provides you with the necessary elements to improve and win. That is, to be successful in life, Osiris advises him. All right, I am learning to lose, to leave the past behind, and not to think too much about the probabilities of the future, without attachment, in order to have a different present and win again. Enrique answers with a smile. Yes, that's the attitude, Osiris shouts at him, very happy. From there, they start playing basketball together in the mornings, having dinner in the evenings, or just having a glass of wine in a bar and talking about everything. And every day was a new lesson, knowledge, that he teaches him to expand his heart, to create unity of mind from both sides, right and left in one form, to change his mentality, to be reborn, because fear, anxiety, doubts are the enemies of personal and spiritual growth of every human being. Search and understand what his proposal of life is, and be the general commander of his mind, no one else. To pilot in the midst of chaos, to know how to go from good to great, to look for excellence in the middle of a painful and difficult procedure. But if you persevere and continue, you will see how you are prepared to live an impressive life. Believe in yourself when no one else does. And remember that today, wealth or poverty is not material, it is mental and spiritual. It is the result of your thoughts and decisions. So do not wait any longer and start. Start now, start creating what you can do with your hands, and the rest will be followed by God. Don't waste any more time, and protect your time more than any earthly good or possession. Not by chance, wristwatches are a very expensive fashion accessory. This is to remind you to avoid wasting your life energy on futile things. Until one day, after training every morning, Enrique plays a game of basketball with Osiris again and wins, giving him the opportunity to understand what it takes to overcome obstacles, and he thanks him for the patience and kindness that Osiris had with him. Quote, "When the disciple is ready, the master will appear. When the disciple is truly ready, the master will disappear." Zen proverb. But at the same time, his secret friends do not like the new visit, because Enrique is waking up from the mental sedation he has been living since his childhood. They start to intervene wherever and however they can, even though they had left their territory, their state, and entered a space that doesn't belong to them. But Osiris and Enrique let them play because they already know the moves that the Gestapo will make on this extended chessboard, and the two of them covered it with a special Imditex gum because Houdini had left all the secret codes there. Yes, those attack instruments that include a map of relativity, telepathy, levitation, disappearance, production, transformation, transposition, restoration, escape, teleportation, and prediction. Because these two, brothers and friends of energy more than blood, could anticipate the steps of these imposters. And at the end of their visit, Osiris disappears, while they continue searching for him desperately. But before leaving, Osiris listens carefully to everything, Enrique's visions, desires, strengths, and weaknesses. Not because he needed to know, but to confirm the sincerity of his heart and unity with the mind. Many times Osiris would laugh at Enrique. "Hey, pay attention," Osiris shouts with a small smile as they practice basketball. "What?" a confused Enrique responds, looking elsewhere. "Distracted," Osiris answers, singing with a charming smile. "Now is not the time. We have a responsibility. Complete your task and wait in the Lord's time in Yahweh," Osiris quickly tells him. "But the thing is," Enrique tries to justify, confused and a little annoyed that something so evidently an illusion. Yes, calm down. It's okay. I, too, was stubborn like you and often thought it was the right decision. However, all the signs showed another path. Osiris gives him a personal example. Because during his initiation period, there was a girl who did yoga, meditation, and trained outdoors in the same park where they practiced, and they occasionally spoke to each other from time to time, so she was very friendly and amusing. And despite knowing why she was there and what she was doing, Enrique wanted to convince himself that she was real, that she could be a friend, and perhaps something more. However, it didn't turn out that way. What a disappointment. Another day, after finishing the training and while taking a break to drink water and hydrate, Enrique talked to Osiris about his ideas, projects, and how he was creating a merger of two new technology companies to work on the new project and seek that new result. But one of these companies wasn't ready because they didn't believe it was possible, and so it was all forgotten. Fascinating, And why don't you do it yourself? Osiris meditates while responding to Enrique. Me? Because why? I don't have the resources, I don't have the necessary preparation, and at least I don't have the team that serves me. Enrique justifies himself. Quote, differences of race, nationality, or religion should not be used to deny any human being citizenship rights or privileges. Rosa Parks. Excuse is all I see. Excuses are all I feel. Keep training, study, prepare yourself, and you will begin to see and do things that you once thought were impossible on this long journey. But don't waste time following others just to please them, as this could make you lose your gift, your life. Osiris recognizes that, as a friend, there are many times when saying things that might not be pleasant at that moment, but are at least honest and correct. He explains the roadmap better for Enrique, the map of expanding the heart and using it as a guide for the mind, with an enlightened intuition for life. But before leaving, Osiris asks Enrique a very meaningful question, to understand if he has the foundations to withstand not only with his strengths, but if he has the fear of not letting the ego take over and make him lose the original intention. Do you believe in God? Osiris asks. Yes, but not in the God that so many religions have created, Enrique responds quickly. At that precise moment, they pause meditatively while Osiris drives, observing the beauty of the city of Cologne. They remain silent for a few seconds. Then, now you have to focus on your passion, on your work, on what you want, on what makes you happy. It won't be a job, it will be your life proposal and will make you rise without alarm, joyful, and with the energy that no one can steal from you, advises Osiris. Okay, but I still don't know what I want. I'm still confused, responds Enrique. Listen to your heart, and you will discover it. Have a good night. Osiris concludes as he says goodbye to Enrique from the car, leaving him near his home. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because you helped me grow, gave me the fuel to ignite the engine, leave my comfort zone with a flexible mind, and not be afraid to fall or lose, knowing that one day I will die. So, I get up and look ahead. I will keep fighting to change my destiny, reflects Enrique. But it won't be an easy road. Keep that in mind. Like when a man says what he thinks, while Enrique was in a steam bath at a spa. And so, this guy wants to make these things possible and compete with us, with our engineering, technology, and competition. If you're our waste and you've already been discarded, go back home because you're not welcome here. This man of German origin smiles at him sarcastically and elegantly farts in Enrique's direction, raising his right leg as they are almost face to face in a hammam steam bath. But he doesn't react to this provocation of 2 pennies. This Aryan doesn't know you, doesn't know your mentality, much less knows your heart, Enrique thinks, speaking to himself, as his best friend. At the same time, he takes a brief pause, breathes lightly outward to diminish his ego, and instead smiles at this stranger, staying silent in meditation while enjoying his moment of relaxation. Because it's normal to be afraid when you have goals beyond what society, politics, or the various religions allow you, and that's why you have to step out of that comfort zone that weakens you. Like the study conducted by international scientists with 5 monkeys in a cage representing the continents of humanity. They created a huge staircase in the center of the place, where there was a massive mother tree that protected them all from the elements. At the same time, this tree temporarily dropped some food because the hunger these beasts suffered made them delirious. Furthermore, at the top of this tree, there was a succulent feast of bananas and bios eggs, a divine fruit by nature, and not the apple placed there to discourage the weaker ones. There were all kinds of delicious fruits for their offspring, who had the courage to climb the stairs and reach the summit. But what happened if one of these monkeys dared to climb the stairs to reach the bananas? The scientists or architects of this diabolical game would shower the other 4 monkeys who remained below, helpless and lazy, with cold, icy water. This created confusion, chaos, in other words, a reaction of automatism, self-defense. The one who took the initiative to climb the mother tree, either due to hunger or the courage and empathy to share this loot with its own kind, was automatically stopped and attacked by the other animals, paralyzed by the fear of receiving the psychological punishment from the architects. In other words, to avoid the shower of cold water, as if they were a species made of artificial sugar. Meanwhile, another 465 species were already living free from any punishment, and these monkeys were unaware because they couldn't see beyond their noses due to the limits implemented in their environment, in their matrix. These species flew around the mother tree, others walked among the branches, some crawled along the trunks of this enormous green mass, others jumped, and some different ones decided to swim in the warm and cold waters found in the depths of the roots of this beautiful tree. So, the scientists began to make changes and replaced one member of the monkeys. And what does this new monkey do instinctively? It wants to climb the huge staircase of this protective tree to eat the delicious bananas, but unfortunately, it is brought down by the other monkeys who give it a severe beating. And this repeats in cycles over and over again infinitely, until the new member no longer dares to climb the stairs, not understanding why. The reason of the consequences of climbing the giant staircase and getting the banana prize. On the contrary, because even the first, or the fourth, or the penultimate, replaced monkey joins the aggressive attack against this newly arrived, or 5th one. Then comes a 3rd monkey, and the same misfortune is repeated until replacing the 4th and 5th monkey. Despite the architects no longer being present because they went on vacation due to being tired of human stupidity, they leave the remaining monkeys who don't want to continue receiving the consequences of dangerous sanctions. In other words, they no longer want the cold shower. Automatically, they hit, attack, and threaten each other, just for the slightest attempt to think or act in action, because it has the courage or intention to climb the stairs of this ominous tree. And this is the human behavior of society, politics, or so many religions that unconsciously create limits for those with a vision beyond what is allowed. The worst part is that it is transmitted from generation to generation, from father to son, from mother to daughter, programming a sick, weak, and limited or closed subconscious to life, and entering the eternal and infamous death of the charlatans called dominocytes, small and weak demons who did not desire the freedom of others. So, a lot of effort must be made to change that erroneous foundation that does not offer a good future, since you don't even live in the present. You are stuck in the past that has already passed. But if you have to do it, then do it with passion, for the love of what you want most, for yourself and your loved ones. Quote, "Never allow waiting to become a habit. Live your dreams and take risks. Life is happening now." Paulo Coelho. Like when you are discredited, humiliated, or harmed, it is at that precise moment that you have to make the decision that will change everything and choose to be a hero or a villain for your life and for everyone around you. Entering suffering is inevitable, but you have to look for the good in things, a why or an objective that will motivate you to continue this long journey of life. Viktor Frankl reminds us of this in Man's Search for Meaning, and it is our duty to say it will not happen anymore, and I will not allow it anymore. Moreover, I will not be one more who continues the chain of evil just because it was done to me too. Instead, we must cut that continuity of discomfort. So, without any help from the German government, he finds himself unemployed and alone in a pandemic in the midst of repeated lockdowns for months and months. He doesn't want social assistance and has never requested it, using all his savings to survive the curse of a global virus. Also, thanks to his family, friends from the European Atlantic Union, and especially Lopera, Ars Dei, the Holy House, who generously provide financial assistance and invite him to live with them without obviously expecting anything in return. Something he never forgets and will be repaid with blessings and even more abundance, like the miracles performed by Jesus. Enrique always thinks about so much love of this amidst the adversity. For this reason, he has to start paying the price of freedom with responsibility and work humbly, beginning from scratch, tabula rasa, doing whatever he can, setting aside his ego and forgetting his prosperous past. But all of this is good, as George Clayton mentions in his book, The Richest Man in Babylon, because what you do with what you have is more important than what you have. This leads him to start working in an Imbiss, fast food in Germany, and later end up in a low-cost supermarket, to then restart as a bartender or barista as he was when he was a university student. This brings him to be accepted and welcomed at the Von Metzger restaurant, where he feels at home. After being interviewed with Amber, since he has a good affinity and mutual understanding with her from the beginning, they end their conversation with these words: "I like your name and attitude, as I need people like you in my business. We serve and do things with passion, love, and authenticity," Amber says to him in the middle of the interview. "Thank you," Enrique replies to her. And after explaining the restaurant's policies, work rules, and signing the contract, she concludes by saying, "Welcome on board. Welcome to the team." Amber smiles. In this way, he continues working day and night on his dreams, jobs, and projects, which gratify him and give him the serenity to be at peace and happy with himself, because he does no harm to anyone to live, not by the rules of society, politics, religion, or because he can't, as he is capable of that and more, but because it is a code integrated into his DNA, in his life.